Call of Duty Black Ops 4 is trying to take on the mantle of PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds in Fortnite. And is it gonna work? Well, we played the beta and here are our thoughts.
Hot take!
So over the weekend, I was playing the Call of Duty 4 Black Ops Blackout whole mode thing, which is basically a new Battle Royale mode that's trying to take on what Fortnite has made popular and what PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds has made popular.
And I watched over Shane's shoulder.
Yeah. Now, the reason I really wanted Adam to sit in and talk to me about this is because Adam, and I imagine many of you out there as well, don't actually care about Call of Duty all that much and don't actually care too much about a new Battle Royale mode.
Yeah, so my experience with COD is like relatively small. I know I can call it COD, but like I jumped in with Modern Warfare, the first one, and I check in from time to time with some of the Black Ops releases and stuff, but I haven't bought a Call of Duty game in a long time, and from my understanding, this game is supposed to be a bit of a departure from what the formula has been. So yeah, I guess I'm just wondering what's going on here, what's new, what's old, and like, is this a thing that will, do you think it will pull me in? You know what I mean?
Right? This is why I want to have the conversation, because I know, look, folks, if you're watching this, if you're a fan of Call of Duty, what I played, you're gonna like. You're gonna have fun with it, it's a cool experience. But personally, I'm coming into it as someone that, I didn't play the last Call of Duty game that came out. I played like 2 seconds of it, like an event or something, but I didn't want to get into it because I didn't care about it. Call of Duty has slowly been getting worse, for me at least, as time has gone on, because I feel like they haven't been really changing the format up and making it more interesting and fun to play. Then I played this beta, which should have been just a direct steal of what other people have done in their games, and it really does feel that way. But wow, does it work better.
So I want to ask you, when you say like a lot of people are anticipating that this is going to be stealing some ideas from other games, what games specifically are you talking about?
PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, hand down. Fortnite. Look, when you play this game, it does. Like I'm not going to cover this, and you know what? If the folks at Activision try to hide this in any way, they're lying. Call of Duty Black Ops 4 Blackout mode is basically PUBG. Like, it looks the same, it feels the same. Well, it doesn't feel the same, I'll get more into that later. But the idea at the very beginning, flying in with some kind of Air Force something, like I don't know, I think you're on like Chinook helicopters, I think that's what they're called. Like, it's a double thing. So you're on one of those, you jump out and you like fly down pretty close to the ground. You open up your parachute, and then you're just on the ground. You have to survive, right? That's what it is. That is PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds format.
It sounds very much like that. So what is COD doing that's so different from PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds that should grab an audience? What's going on?
So PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds has a third-person focus, just like Fortnite, but in PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, you can turn it into a first-person mode. The problem with that, though, is that when you turn into a first-person mode, you're actually limiting yourself and your scope of what you can see. You always want to play that game in third person because you'll actually be able to see a lot more around you. That's one of the things that happened with Star Wars Battlefront originally, is that many people that would play the game chose to play it in third-person mode because you could just see more.
I remember in those releases way back in the day, like the initial the Star Wars Battlegrounds games.
Yeah.
Battlefront?
Battlefront.
Okay, yeah, but in the later iterations, it was first person, right?
But you could still switch back, right? Okay. Now, maybe there's a way to switch into third person on here, but I didn't even care. This is Call of Duty. Yeah. I'm not playing Call of Duty for a third person experience.
Has Call of Duty had a third person view in like the last 10 years?
Like, okay, there are some like elements that you can get where you've got like a little RC car with
a
bomb.
Right,
you know, there's stuff like that,
sure.
right? So there are elements that have been in third person. However, when you're playing as a main character, primarily that doesn't happen. Now, that being said, while playing this, I was shocked at how good this felt. Now, Adam and I had talked about this previously. I was very negative about this. I was thinking there's no way they're gonna be able to beat what PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds has launched. I didn't think there was any way that they could go against Fortnite. And to this day, at this moment, having now played the beta, I still firmly believe they're not gonna be able to take on Fortnite, simply because Fortnite is such a distinctly different experience. It has a different world, a different vibe, and it's free.
So in this case, we've seen PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds being second place for the longest time. Is COD going to be like the PUBG killer? Will it fit that second place slot if it can't touch the other Fortnite?
Let me tell you, I didn't think so, but after playing this beta, yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to take it. I think it's going to take it, and I think it's going to surpass it.
Yeah, okay. So I had asked a little bit previously about what this game does differently from PUBG. What feels great about this? What feels better than what PUBG had already done? Because PUBG, from my understanding, has always been a bit of a mess.
Oh yeah, absolutely, right? PUBG, I mean, PUBG has issues, and they've made it better as time has gone on. And I've seen the game run like a sloppy mess to where it is now, which is a much more refined experience, but it has its issues. Call of Duty's beta, from the get-go, is amazing. The gameplay, the shooting mechanics, just the movement itself, everything that PUBG has struggled with over the times, I really feel that Call of Duty has it locked down in beta. Like, it's shocking, because I was like, this isn't going to feel any different. And no, the guys that make Call of Duty have been working on that franchise for so long, and I mean, it's switched up different teams and development houses, but they clearly have put a lot of effort and time into this. The map is very detailed and feels like there's a lot of differences to it. It doesn't feel like the same, elements copied and pasted over and over again. There are a bunch of vehicles in the game. I got to try out a helicopter, and the helicopter, I thought it was going to feel awkward going from first person to third person. Felt great, controlled really effortlessly. Just everything I experienced in it was just solid. Like, if I didn't know this is a beta, I would have already assumed it was the final version of the game. One thing that's different, though, is just switching up. With what you normally see in Call of Duty is you start up your map, whatever it is you're playing with people, you already have your weapons selected. This one, you start with your fists, just like any Battle Royale game. So you have to run around, find weapons. But each weapon isn't just generic gun, right? Which is what PUBG really does.
Okay.
This is the guns you have in the main game, I assume, is what you're getting here. So you go out and find components and you can match them, and it's the same stuff you get in PUBG, but with that refinement from Call of Duty.
So I've always known Call of Duty to be like a pretty fast-playing, arcadey like shooting experience. And when I've seen PUBG, I haven't played it all that much, but from what I've seen, it seemed like more of a slow and like very calculated game about survival. So like, what's going on here? Are we still getting the arcadey sort of fast-paced nature of Call of Duty?
Well, I think you're getting, so PUBG doesn't work. So PUBG, there's elements when I'm playing PUBG where you're playing it safe. You're in a building, you're waiting, you're looking out the windows, you're trying to keep safe, especially when you're playing with a squad, right? You're trying to make sure that you don't, you survive till the end.
Right.
So while I was playing this, the firefights were far better. When you actually started shooting at people and started dealing with that, you're having a much more tactical experience, and it felt like the mission became about surviving in that one close quarter scenario. And it felt like I felt better with my own abilities to go at somebody in the beta than I have ever felt in PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds. PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, I just feel like it's going to be hectic and weird the closer it gets to the end, and it's always felt like that. But when you have the refinement of essentially the Call of Duty engine working in this format, I mean, that's it. You know, the sad thing is, when I think about PUBG and everything they've achieved, I don't feel that they've made the gameplay better over time. It still feels kind of like that Arma experience, where it's not really a shooting game, it's more about the tactics.
Yes.
And they were kind of formatting it in this way, and it never really felt like it clicked. But when it comes to what Call of Duty's doing here, I just feel that they've made a far more structured and better game.
Yeah, well, I guess it's because you take a game and a formula that's been refined so much and was so well received within its first iteration, the Modern Warfare iteration, I should say, and just kind of broadening it from there. I guess it's probably easier growth. And by seeing other games in that same Battle Royale vein, they really do have kind of a stencil or an outline to kind of to shoot to. So you said that there's a vehicular combat in the game. Is this the first time, or one of the first times?
Call of Duty never really deals with vehicles. This is the first time we've actually seen them
and you said
that.
It felt pretty good.
It felt like it had already been there. Well, what's hilarious is now the way that Call of Duty is set up with this mode, it almost felt like Battlefield.
Oh, okay.
Which shocked me, because my biggest problem with Battlefield, you see, I'm the kind of person that likes the Battlefield gameplay, but my biggest problem is I like the controls and the feel of Call of Duty more than Battlefield. In Battlefield, I want the scope.
Yes.
But now I'm getting the scope of Battlefield with the better controls of Call of Duty, and I am just, I didn't think it would work. And here we are, we're playing a game that feels strong. And the funny thing is, I know it's kind of difficult for me to explain every instance of why the game just feels better, but it's that refinement of movement, it's that refinement of gunplay, all that stuff that Call of Duty has been very good at. And even if you're not a fan of Call of Duty, I would recommend trying out the beta if they do another one or whatever, just to see if you like that. Because yes, by itself, if it was just being sold as a Battle Royale game, it would struggle. I really do believe that. But it being a part of the Call of Duty experience with the zombie game mode, with the regular Call of Duty game modes, I think you're getting something that's far bigger and more interesting because of that.
So as a Call of Duty player, one of the biggest draws for me was always the story mode. And I believe that has been taken out of this game,
Pretty
right?
much, yeah.
So do you still see that bringing people in? Like, do you need to be a big fan of Battle Royale games to, like, be guided into this game? Because, I don't have much of an interest in those.
Well, see, I think a lot of people that play Call of Duty now are playing it for the online portions.
Yes, oh, absolutely.
For me, yeah.
Absolutely.
Like, for me, I liked Battlefield. Sorry, I didn't really like Battlefield Story because the first Battlefield really, it had like a light narrative with a single player, but it really wasn't like anything specific. With the first Call of Duty games, they're all about the story. They're about that kind of thing.
Yes.
It got into Modern Warfare, and that had an interesting story for its time. Black Ops, to me, stood out. Like, that had a really good story.
Especially the first one, yeah.
Yeah, and I followed their stories for a bit, but then during the last couple of Call of Duty games, I did not care about the story whatsoever. They didn't interest me because it felt like the same thing just repeating and repeating and repeating. So at this point, I figured that they were just going to focus more on the gameplay aspects, and that's what I think you're getting here. So I feel that this may be the best version of Call of Duty they've ever made, because I firmly believe that the Black Ops series has been better in terms of gameplay than the other Call of Duty games. That's why I skipped the last one, because the previous Call of Duty wasn't a Black Ops. It was the one prior to that one that was a Black Ops.
So correct me if I'm wrong, usually in the Black Ops games, as compared to the Modern Warfare games, they can get a little sillier with their weapons and things, because Black Ops has some sort of fake realities within the game.
The original one is like 1950s, 1960s.
Was it Vietnam?
Yeah, basically.
Okay,
Vietnam.
So it's a little later.
It's dealing with stuff like that, and there are some really interesting, like, futuristic type weapons there. But they're not out of the realm of reality. They're just like neat ideas.
Yeah, they could have been a thing, but they weren't.
Black Ops 2 took place way in the future. And then Black Ops 3 took place even more in the future, and then the gameplay started to get really weird, and it was about double jumping, and they made it way too complex. But what I was playing there felt like a solid gameplay experience with all the extra stuff. I didn't want the double, triple jumping mechanics of, like, suits and all these weird, like, technological things that they're just fantasy. And it blew itself to a point where it was just like, this is just so much blown up to this weird reality of just, you just can't understand things. All I know is when I'm playing this Call of Duty beta, when I was doing it, if I looked out to the distance and I saw somebody, I knew I had a chance to take them down. And that's something I've never felt confident about in the other Call of Duties, because it just got to be so crazy and so weird.
So in this game, you're covering a lot of distance, right?
Yeah.
Are the maps familiar? Are they some of the same maps that we'd seen? I heard a rumor that they were integrated all together.
The entire map itself has, like, scopes and elements of different maps combined, so that you can actually feel that. You know, it's interesting when you play PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds or even Fortnite, and Fortnite's better for this. Fortnite has areas of the map that feel like there's a lot more time built into it, not just like an open field and stuff like that. And Call of Duty has the same idea. There's certain elements that are kind of inspired by other maps, and they're put into this one larger map, so it kind of feels like this bigger thing. I played in specifically this one area that was kind of like a depot, and it felt very, like, interestingly detailed, right? And just like with any kind of Battle Royale game, you're trying to survive in the area, and you're making use of these areas to kind of hide around and stuff. So it just felt like they put a lot of effort and time into it, and it didn't feel slow. That's the funny part. It actually felt like things were moving fast, and things were like, it's like I understood the mechanics before I played the game.
Yeah, that's what I expect from a COD game, is usually that fluidity of motion and that speed in the action and whatnot. So maps aside, does this almost feel like a greatest hits in the items that you get or the powers that you get? Did you see things that you had, tools that you had played with in other Call of Duty games?
I mean, I didn't recognize all the weapons and everything, but I assume that some of those things were from the past. But, you know, honestly, in general, it just felt like, it felt like more of a greatest hits from mechanics rather than greatest hits from items that I've seen in the world. But to be fair, this is only a beta and we don't know everything that's going to be in there. But folks, what do you think? Now, I'm on the side of the fence thinking this is going to do better than PUBG, and maybe it holds it, maybe it doesn't, because there's another Call of Duty game that comes out next year. Does that mean that the next Call of Duty game is going to have its own Battle Royale mode? Who knows, right? But how about you? Do you think this is going to be a success, or do you think it's just going to be another average Call of Duty game? Let us know what you think in the comments below.